Hello. Hello. I'd like to talk about a little bit. This is my Nanowrimo podcast. Let me start again. This is my Nanowrimo podcast for today, March 28, 2020. Um, the thing about with NaNoWriMo though is many of us do write books throughout the year and contribute to literacy and sometimes some of our books are in spoken word or basically on paper or ebook. I write books in different languages, but I thought this time rather than do a book in paper, how about doing actually a book in audio discussion? So what I like to do is fiction, but the setting of the story is a local university. It is set in the woods. When the university started, it had a history of communing with nature. Very much so, as many of the people actually had read books by Ursula Le Guin, The World for World is Forest, Earthsea, and the dream story, the Lathe of Creation, and so many people who set up this university were very much into nature. As the university started, it started during a turbulent time. It was a time in the United States history during the late '60s when there's a lot of social changes going on. Some of the changes, some people were still nonviolent, others were not. And but the main thing is the people who started this university, many of them were from an area where there was high activism, but they agreed on something very different for the time. They agreed that they would have an intellectual community, they would have an activism community, but without the violence. So basically, many of the things that people saw, like about what happened in '68 and '69, were not supported at this university. So as the university started built, and other professors came, and even the university employed in the philosophy of actually having lectures on the lawn. There's a common practice during the late spring that basically students would gather on the lawn and they'd have lectures. And some traditional professors would actually say, "Well, you guys are just out there to get you a suntan," and they'd snicker and talk to the other professors, say, "Well, really, they're trying to just get suntan and just get away from studying." But what happens, the other professors, we found something quite amazing. And it was that basically most of the students who went on these class lectures actually did well on tests, did better, and also were more well-rounded. Now, it's a few years after university's been started. It's about 10 years. A young student who's very advanced in junior high school, as it was back then, now possibly someone would say middle school, but junior high school as it was back then. The student goes out to university library on a regular basis because the university has a progressive policy of allowing people in the community to check out books from the university library who live in the county. They go out there and they basically take she goes out there, she checks out some books, she reads some books from NASA. Now remember, at this time she is in the 8th grade, which many people would find surprising. Well, how can she read college level textbooks in the 8th grade? And she goes out there and she likes football, but sometimes she likes to get away from football and likes to do some studies like that, because basically when she does play football, sometimes she's the one that's actually more the punching bag than actually the player, because they always put her out as tight end because she's tall, athletic, and other stuff. She's a great quarterback. But basically, so to get away from some of it, she goes to library and studies a little bit. As she studies, her parents realize that her curriculum at the junior high school, she is ready to take a few college courses. So her parents enroll in a summer session. And basically her parents enrolled in the same course as she does. And it's actually an education course on instructional media. The course is taught by a very famous professor who's shown on the mural at the university. And in fact, in the university, basically, it's so much of an intellectual haven, rather than say like Dr. Jones or Professor Susan or something else. All the professors have first names. Beecham, Don, Anna Marie, Jean. Everyone has a first name, and basically, it's not this. The students realize as well as the others that it's not that all these professors are leaders in the field. However, they're so comfortable with themselves and with what they've done, and trusting the students that they trust the students to have mutual respect. So this eighth grader that's in this instructional media class, she does a few things, and at that time, her passion is really golf. She loves the historic golf courses, and just to give an example, let me just pick up one visual aid here. Um, when she was in high school, this is coming out. This comes out backwards, but basically, when she was in high school, she actually asked junior high school librarian, as she was a golfer too, about getting the World Atlas of Golf, which was with a forward by Herbert Warren Wind, and what it had was basically. Let me just show you. This is one example of where on one golf hole how you play it, and and this was the British Open. This was when Tom Watson won the British Open in 1983. Now here's a view of a links course, um, which is known as Chantilly, and so the person when she had instructional media. What she did, she actually took some of those and she actually made a mural. She took a mural and she um, did dry mount and then did covering of it like that, and that she still keeps. But during that course, she also did another thing. She also learned to explore video technology because in those days, most of the cameras at the university video labs had were the old black and white cameras, and they're the old Lux cameras. Just to give an example how much light you really needed. Let me turn the lights off here. This is what the old video cameras used to look like, even when you had the proper light, because the lenses were not as sensitive as they are today. So as she learned, and so you saw when I turned the light on how there's an over flash and under flash, and that's something she learned as well. But the thing is, the odd thing is basically she was taking the course of many students, some of them who had done service in Vietnam and were veterans, at least starting the education at a later age. Others older adults, others basically traditional students. However, at the time though, um, it was a case of a big community where everyone welcomed each other, and we discussed openly. And part of the thing what we did discuss openly was the studio had a record player. So what would happen is we each be encouraged to bring in our albums. Like one person actually bought in the soundtrack to War at Sea from the World War II series. Another person bought in Cheech and Chong's albums. Some others bought in one person I knew. She knew bought in Loverboy, the famous Loverboy album. And so basically, what happened was it was a case of where the college was fun, and also what happens is a case of sharing that. Now, as she took that course, she really loved it. So she went back to junior high school in ninth grade, and at that time, basically, the football team was still basically very macho, and they didn't want anyone girls to play or anyone who was hidden or closeted like transgender like she was. So basically, she was the football manager of the team, and at that team, basically, they went 8-1. They lost one game, and part of the thing is the coach that trained her was Mr. Seals, who was very famous in Kenosha for youth athletics and a youth coach, and he trained her to work on to be a defensive to going about as a defensive coach. Studying defense, studying the formations, taking tackle statistics, making recommendations. And what happens in a few games, she had mentioned show the statistics, and coach used to say, "Okay, well, we've got to change the defense. We got to they're going on the right. We got to fortify the right." So, or basically instead of going from a single safety, add a double safety or multiple cornerbacks. And the other thing that came out too is in the game too is also just various fundamentals too about basically, this is game for fun. You respect your opponents, you play fair, but also it's a game of discipline. Like one game, I remember she was in the coach called her into the huddle because she said no, she's part of the team too. Everyone's coming in, and she said, look, there's only 30 seconds left of the game. They're going to punt. Wherever the ball lands, just let it roll. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. If it comes by you, run away from it. Don't let it touch you. Well, what happened? Basically, they snapped. They're getting ready to snap the ball. They're on the 45-yard line, coming on our 45-yard line. But that time they didn't have a good field goal kicker, so they had a punt. So they snapped, and what happened was they did a special punt defense where they could send everyone down at once. And so what happens? They punted the ball, and the defensive team went on hearing what Coach Seals had to say, and basically, well, what happens is one person he at first he's going to run away from the ball. He's going to run, but then he's decided, well, oh, okay, I can catch this. And that day it was a wet field. It was a sloppy field. He caught the ball. Ball landed right through his hands. Fumbled the ball. They got the ball on the 3-yard line, and with about 10 seconds left, they did a student body right and scored the winning touchdown, and they won the game 12-8. And because in those days, junior high school, we didn't have good field goal kickers. I was a good field goal kicker, but my parents didn't want me to go because they're assumed that they were a little bit concerned about how other teams played and about getting injured. So, but basically it's 12-8. So what happens, we went to a locker room and coach everyone was yelling at the guy in the bus saying, why did you just let the ball go? Why didn't you just let it go? And he says, well, I saw this game last week where the guy from Dallas caught the ball and he ran it back 80 yards for a touchdown, and I wanted to get on the game wheel and such. Use it before I go to college. And the coach still says, well, I understand, you're young, you see this kid, but that's the biggest problem we have as coaching is because he finally mentioned to us the biggest job of a coach is sometimes you see stuff on TV, you see like if someone's a football fan or baseball fan, you see like these guys running, catch the ball, run 80 yards for a touchdown, or someone at the back going like, I'm going to swing for the fences, boom, boom, instead of just getting a single or double and getting an RBI in. And that's the biggest thing the coaches, sometimes they have people unlearn what they see based upon advertisement and propaganda. At that time, we were 8th graders, so we didn't understand about advertisement propaganda in formal terms. We knew that basically a lot of candy companies advertise stuff because across from our junior high school, we had an open lunch. So we go over to the drugstore and buy like a Hershey bar or something. And we get chastised for eating a Hershey bar over lunch or something like that. But the vice principal and the principal were quite open-minded. They said, well, no, we understand you need to have something in addition to just what we have. And so they're fair, But the point is, years later, when she went to college, and she sort of still kept a thing in football, but basically the other thing what she always missed about when she was in 8th grade, she wanted to actually try out for the cheerleader squad, but basically being an 8th grader in the 70s and partially transgendered, she couldn't because in some communities, if you did come out, you would literally get beat up. And even on the last day of that or in junior high school, the Kenosha Police Department had to come and actually patrol the school so she could go to the 9th grade dance safely. And because there was a group of kids who were very homophobic, very transphobic, they wanted to beat her up. And even at that time, she could not dress the way she wanted fully, so she dressed a little bit androgynous. So she wore basically pastel pants, colored tops, like a scarf and stuff like that. But she still had to take a special gym class because even back then. The thing is, throughout high school, her friends eventually caught on a little bit about that she was closet transgender because they always saw, well, you're so shy. You're stuck up. You won't speak with me. You won't do this. then they realized her shyness was not due that she was being stuck up. That she thought that she was better than everyone else or looking down at everyone else. It was because basically she was afraid if she said too much, people would discover that she was at that time in high school closet transgender, and she didn't know exactly what who there's very few friends that she could really trust, and that's why also she sometimes didn't go out to parties as much in that. So later years, when she did go to college in pre-med, she went back to same University of Parkside. And at Parkside, the first people that were accepted were those professors she met in summer school, and the professors we know by that were in the story: Beecham, Jean, Don, and or, or, and what happens basically. That's when she first came out to him, and also David, who was her art professor. And the thing is, with David Holmes, she took her first class in pre-med was actually an art class during the summer, and he said, "Well, no, you do a lot in computers. Why in the world are you taking art when you're so technological?" And she said, "Well, I like to do some things in art." Well, you should. Well, they're never going to be able to match what they do in computers and art. I said, "Well, I know, but I like to build some of the stuff that does this." And so years later, it's about 2000. She sees David again, and what happens? She shows him a brochure she made of some of her artwork, and she also at that time decided to fully come out. And when David sees, he says, "Oh, thank God! I'm glad you finally did. I wish you could have done this sooner." I said, and that's what my parents thought too, but they told me I had to wait for the right time when the society was ready. And the basic thing that happened though is then another professor she knew, Tim, came by, and because she left a copy of her art before, and Tim said, "Well, did you see what?" And Tim was going to use her former name. And Dave said, "No, use her current name." And at that time, basically, she had an internet name that she used as Belinda, and also an internet tag as Java Girl, because also she was doing coding. Well, what Tim was a little bit perplexed at first, and then David said, "Well," and then they said, "Well, here, let me explain to you in a few minutes or so." So what happened was she went to the library to do some of the studies like she normally does, and David explained to Tim, and then when she saw David and Tim again, Tim said, "I didn't realize it." I said, "Now I understand." He says, "Boy, that must have been awful hard for you." I said, and she said, "Yes, it was." But the thing is, though, what helped her through all this from middle school onward is that she had a few friends that did come out and that did support her. Also, she had a few friends that would give her sometimes a high sign, like when it's sometimes best to not, just so keep it low for a while like that, until you get in a better area, because the biggest thing about for people who are transgender about coming out, especially when you're in middle school and junior high school, is that some areas are prepared to be open about it, other areas are not, and also sometimes as many people who come out, they get the spiel, they get the religious spiel, and mainly the Old Testament about the type of clothes you're wearing, and and also they get the psychological spiel. Well, you sure you're not? And based on current psychological treatment, transgender is not a mental disease. In the past, it was considered in DSM-2, but not in DSM-5. The point of the story is, so when she transitioned, there were moments of up and down, and there were moments where basically she wanted to do some things, but she had to feel her way through. And the thing is, in any type of decision you do to live fully or move forward in life, or any type of crisis you're going through, even like this COVID-19 thing, you sometimes don't know black and white. It's not always a mathematical equation. 2 + 2 = 4. It may be 2 + 2 = approximately 4. 2 + 2 is equal greater than 4, or maybe 2 + 2 is actually -1i, imaginary number. It's sometimes very fuzzy. And the thing is, sometimes the way you can tell about dealing with the fuzziness is how are you feeling now? Did you get enough sleep? Did you hydrate? Did you do this? Did you do that? And if you did, then basically whatever you're feeling is true, and you can go with it. But that if you didn't hydrate or something, then it's good to have a friend to call and talk with a friend. Like even today, I've talked with multiple friends over the telephone by conference call. Um, and in this story, you have to remember the story that I mentioned. Cell phones were available then, but they were very expensive, very limited. Um, and actually, the character in the story, she didn't have her first cell phone until she was age 37, which was 1999. So basically, her phoning was either talking into an answering machine or dialing on a phone, waiting at the phone for it to ring. The thing that in the story that kept the person going was basically is they always loved golf. They remember all the good people they met in golf, especially at the clubhouse. And when they used to go golf as a single, the starter would assign people who came by themselves as single to a group, and it's actually a nice camaraderie, nice chummy thing to do. Um, from listening to the story, you can tell that this story is autobiographical because I sort of started to describe the character in third person, but actually went into the first person. Um, and sometimes when you're writing, sometimes it helps to think is that how would you say it to someone if you were an observer, and then rather than just saying it to yourself as a first person. Another thing of writing a story sometimes is even just taking something like this is I have like a Sony dictation tape recorder, just dictating in to get the idea down on the story of what you're going to do. So, well, let me know what you think. My YouTube channel is Diana1K2, 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 and also I'm on Twitter at Diana1A, Diana1A. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk with you soon.